Well, gun owners just got a first look at how the new ATF director views the Second Amendment, how he views the job as ATF director, and he actually called gun owners out by name. And today I'm going to tell you exactly what he said, and from this message, how it looks like he's going to treat the Second Amendment and gun owners going forward. Now, we know how much influence the ATF has had over 3-4 decades now when it comes to gun owners. So, as much as we want this agency gone forever and not deal with any more of these infringements, while the ATF is there, it is important to know what's going on there and who's behind this, because we haven't really got a whole lot of information up until right now. Now we know exactly how he views it. I want to compare this a little bit to a test that President Trump had this past week when it comes to the Second Amendment as well. Show you what he said and kind of analyze it. Of course, I'm just going to give you my opinion on how I feel about it right now. Of course, this is all subject to change, but I want to hear your opinion too. What do you think? And I know a lot of you are going to say, close the ATF down. I'm with you 100%. Don't get this twisted. But as of right now, having this guy, Dan Driscoll, at the head of the ATF, and with what President Trump said, does this give you more confidence or less confidence? Let me know your opinion straight up, and I'm going to give you mine too. Let's go ahead and get into it. So Dan Driscoll lays this out almost immediately. And one thing that Kash Patel did not do when he was kind of running this for, what was it, a month, or less, is he didn't really make any statements. I think he visited the ATF like one time. And so it's clear that he wants to run the FBI. He wants to do his thing over there and try to make that organization the best that it can be. Okay, fine. But he didn't make any announcements. We know how he views the Second Amendment, so a lot of people were excited about that, including myself. But I almost viewed it as like a way to tell the president, and what we kind of already have known for a while, is that this agency isn't really that important when they're not getting involved in busting down doors and, focusing on FFLs and small little clerical errors and stuff like that. Well, Dan Driscoll comes out right out of the gates and lets us know exactly how he feels. So it is quite a contrast. Even though he's holding a dual role as well, we get to see a little bit of an insight into how he feels. Before this, I couldn't find anything as to how pro-gun he is. It's almost like a scale now. You have to judge people when they say, I like guns, or I'm pro-gun. You almost have to put them on a scale, right? Are they FUD?
I'm hunting weapons.
Are they lukewarm?
I do not believe in taking away the right of the citizen to own guns for sporting, for hunting and so forth, or for home defense. But I do believe that an AK-47, a machine gun, is not a sporting weapon or needed for defense of a home.
Do they say they're really pro-gun, but they're kind of just mouth breathers and just want to say what people want to hear? Do they kind of just come up with bills that sound really good to their constituents, and that kind of lets them say, oh, I try to protect the Second Amendment, but then it goes nowhere, that kind of stuff? And then you have true believers in the Second Amendment, right? So we didn't really know where he felt. Well, now he released this statement right here. I'm going to read this verbatim, okay, so we don't, there's nothing misleading here, right? It is all in black and white. So, to the men and women of the ATF. ATF has a proud history of service, defending public safety, enforcing the law, and doing so with integrity and resolve. That's debatable. And so I'm honored to begin my service as your acting director with unwavering commitment to the mission that we share. This doesn't sound great so far, does it? My journey to this role began as an Army officer. I've led in combat, studied law in pursuit of justice, navigated the private sector where results, not rhetoric, mattered the most. And in every chapter, I've come to believe one truth above all: the strength of any organization lies in its people. Okay? ATF faces complex challenges: violent crime, illegal trafficking of firearms, and evolving threats from criminal and terrorist organizations, but I have full confidence in this agency and its purpose. As we begin this chapter, together I want to share guiding principles that will shape our work moving forward. This is where it starts to get good, and we get an insight into how he feels here. We will act with clarity, urgency, and purpose. That means strengthening our partnerships, with communities, the firearms industry, with our federal, state, and local agencies, and cutting through bureaucracy to equip you with the most effective tools and systems to enforce the law. Now here's the good part. The Second Amendment is not a second-class right. It is a foundational part of the Constitution, and like all constitutional rights, it must be respected and protected. Law-abiding gun owners are part of the fabric of this country, and this DOJ and the ATF will protect the Second Amendment rights of the American people. At the same time, we will continue to work to combat violent crime. These two goals are not at odds. They are our job, and no agency is better positioned to do them both than ATF. We will go after gun traffickers, violent offenders, and criminal and terrorist organizations with relentless focus. We will stand with our law enforcement partners to protect our communities. We will never lose sight of our core responsibility, safeguarding the public while steadfastly defending the constitutional rights of law-abiding Americans. That, my friends, actually sounds refreshing, okay? At first glance, what I'm seeing here is somebody that actually understands what the task is. Now, don't take this as some like glowing review of Dan Driscoll, because if he screws up in the future, we have to call that out, right? If he does anything to go against the constitutional rights that we hold, you got to be willing to call it out. So make no mistake about that. This is in stark contrast to who we had before, which we know for a fact that old Deadlecock was just a staunch liberal and he really hated the fabric of the Second Amendment, right? He would say they would protect it, but they went to you all know this, he went to great lengths to restrict firearm ownership as much as possible. So to hear Dan Driscoll say, hey, look, we have two jobs here. They're not at odds with each other. One is to protect and go after bad guys, right? People that are doing bad things, but also to protect and defend the Second Amendment. Can I get an amen in chat? I mean, that's exactly what we've been looking for. And again, when you pair that with the DOJ, who created the Second Amendment Task Force, and we've seen the kinds of things that we have from this administration, this is where we can really hopefully bring these two in line to not only protect and defend, which is great, right? This is what every single one of these people should be doing, like obviously, duh, come on, but also expansion of the Second Amendment. Okay, so if we have the DOJ, the FBI, even to an extent, the ATF, all working saying, hey, we're not budging, right? This is a starting point from here, and it only increases. We only increase rights from here. We only remove restrictions from here. We're at a fantastic starting point. Now, let's say this stuff carries on to next year. All right, we go the rest of this year and there's no major gun legislation. I can't predict the future, and I can't tell you exactly what they're going to do in the future. I just can't, right? But if they've put all the pieces in place now, right, to start pushing forward with new pro-gun bills, right, removing SBRs or, removing suppressors off of the NFA and getting the concealed carry reciprocity, all the things that we've talked about, and it goes on to next year, now that all the pieces are in place, I don't know that I would be surprised by that. It seems like the building blocks are in place to do some really incredible things for the gun community going forward, right? 4 years sounds like a long time, but it's really not, right? So there is a sense of urgency, but I don't think I'd be surprised if this kind of carries on. I think calling gun owners out specifically and saying, we're here to defend your rights, though, is... Again, it's a breath of fresh air. This is what a lot of us voted for. Speaking of that, President Trump had another test this last week, and you kind of see like the media trying to push at him a little bit and say, hey, what happened down at FSU? What are we thinking? We're going to pass some new gun laws, and this is what he said.
There are now 2 deceased following that shooting at Florida State University. Following and amid that, is there any changes that you want to see to gun legislation? Anything you see broken with gun laws in our country?
Well, I'm going to have to look. I'm a big advocate of the Second Amendment. I have been from the beginning. I protected it, and these things are terrible. But the gun doesn't do the shooting. The people do. It's a phrase that's used probably too often. I will tell you that it's a shame. I'm just hearing about it now. I just hear about it. I know the area very well. I know the school very well. I know everything about it. It's Florida. and we'll have more to say about it later. I have to
What do
see
you
what
mean when you
happens.
say there will be more to say about it?
Only in terms of what happened. As far as legislation is concerned, this has been going on for a long time. I have an obligation to protect the Second Amendment. I ran on the Second Amendment, among many other things, and I will always protect the Second.
Right? He ran on the Second Amendment. Now, if this was and it's unfortunate people lost their lives, right? I'm not trying to downplay that, but if this was a bigger thing, and unfortunately this is just kind of a part of a free society, sometimes terrible things happen, and that doesn't excuse it, not even close, but it's unfortunate. It happens. So people are saying like, oh, well, maybe if this was like a bigger incident, there'd be more pressure. Would he fold, right? Very similar to what we saw in the first term. I don't know that that's exactly true though, right? I can't tell you what the man is thinking. All I can tell you is what we see in the future, and what I've seen so far leads me to believe that he is here to defend, not restrict gun owners and their rights. Sometimes though, you have to get past what he says and actually look at what he does. And so far, he's done a great job and done a lot of good things that kind of play into exactly what we were talking about with this new ATF Director, Dan Driscoll. So far, to me, everything is looking really good, and we have a chance here to do some incredible things as a gun community. So there you go. There's what the new ATF director said. Love to hear your opinions on both this and what Trump said down below. Let me know what you think. Big thanks to you guys. See you in the next one. And as always, hold it down.